Starting with updates from the Israel-Hamas war, the Israeli military said it was carrying out a raid at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. The military said they were raiding the complex for Hamas after urging them to surrender. A hospital official has reportedly said that the army is shooting and carrying out bombings inside the medical complex. Thousands of Palestinian civilians are still sheltering inside Gaza Strip's biggest hospital. Meanwhile, Gaza's Al-Rantisi Children's Hospital has been evacuated and is now out of service. This is according to the director of the hospital. He said that power, water and oxygen were cut off. This has forced the medical staff, patients and dozens of displaced families to evacuate the hospital. Remember, this is the same hospital that Israel claimed was being used by Hamas to capture hostages. Heavy rain poured down on a UN shelter in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza yesterday. Downpour has brought with it new concerns and challenges for Palestinians. Many of them are homeless and are living in makeshift tents after weeks of Israeli strikes in Gaza. The onset of rainy season and potential risks of flooding increased fears. This is over the enclave's already damaged sewage system, which may get overwhelmed. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has said that the Israeli forces have taken control of the center of Gaza City. He added that his forces have defeated Hamas in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. According to the Defense Minister, Israeli forces have also surrounded Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. Israel says that the hospital sits atop an underground headquarters of Hamas. However, Hamas denies the presence of an underground headquarters. It says that 650 patients and around 7,000 other civilians are trapped inside the hospital grounds. Israeli government minister and opposition leader Benny Gantz has warned Lebanon. He has said that Israel is ready to expand its operations against Hezbollah however necessary. Gantz added that Israel is ready to quote-unquote deliver a painful blow to Lebanon and Hezbollah. The Israeli army released footage claiming to carry out military operations against Hamas. The army added that it had dismantled Hamas centers and capabilities built over the years in Gaza's Al-Shati's camp. Strikes were also carried out on what Israel said were Hamas targets in Gaza. Missiles shot from Gaza hit an urban area in Israel's Ashkelon city yesterday. 2 men reportedly suffered minor injuries. One of the missiles exploded near a building, causing damage to the structure. Yemen's Houthis have said that they launched a batch of ballistic missiles against various Israeli targets. A spokesperson for the Houthis also said that it will continue to strike Israel wherever possible. The spokesperson said, and I quote, "We will not hesitate to target any Israeli ship in the Red Sea or any location that falls within our reach." The Houthis have launched repeated attacks on Israel ever since the war with Hamas began. In other news, US President Joe Biden is meeting his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping today. The two will meet on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum. Xi's visit to the US comes for the first time in 6 years amid escalating tensions between Washington and Beijing. Biden has said that he aims to normalize relations and communications between the two nations through this meeting. The US House of Representatives passed a stopgap measure yesterday. This was to avert a partial federal government shutdown. The legislation is now headed to the Senate for approval. To avert a shutdown, the legislation must be signed into a law. That is before the current funding deadline expires at midnight on Friday. North Korea tested new engines for intermediate-range ballistic missiles. This is according to the country's state media. Tests were conducted on the 11th and 14th of November on new type high-thrust solid-fuel engines. This will reportedly further enhance Pyongyang's strategic offensive capabilities. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has rejected allegations posed by the United States. The US has accused Russia and China of helping North Korea dodge sanctions over its nuclear capabilities. Russia has called those allegations, quote-unquote, absolutely unfounded. Sri Lanka's former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa contributed to the country's economic crisis. This was ruled by the nation's top court yesterday. The court was ruling on a petition filed against 13 former officials. The petition named the two Rajapaksa brothers, two former central bank governors, and President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The authorities of India's capital city of Delhi deployed over 70 anti-smog guns to combat pollution. These anti-smog guns aim to settle the dust particles. Heavy smog was seen in parts of Mumbai city as well. The pollution crisis continues for residents of India's capital. Over half of Brazil is on high alert due to the extreme heat waves. According to the Rio alert system, the temperature felt like 58 degrees Celsius. This is the fourth heat wave of this year. Hundreds of people resorted to the sea to cool down. Over 190 people have been evacuated from Italy's Tuscany city after unprecedented rainfall flooded the city. The authorities confirmed the death of 8 people. Overnight torrential rain led the rivers to overflow near the city. Italian government announced state of emergency and also allocated over $5 million of aid money. The people of Bangladesh are experiencing the country's worst dengue outbreak. According to experts, climate change is also one of the contributing factors. The extended monsoon period created optimal conditions for the mosquitoes which carry the virus. Over 1,400 people have been reported dead. The State of Climate Action Report of 2023 has found out the worst impacts of climate breakdown. According to the research, countries globally are falling behind in every policy to combat climate change. Research suggests phasing out coal 7 times faster and bringing down deforestation 4 times faster. The report is a joint initiative of 5 global climate agencies like the UN and the Climate Action Tracker. A climate assessment has found that climate change is affecting Americans physically and financially. US agencies and scientists have come up with a national climate assessment. This assessment aims to lay out the growing threats for the people. Over $1 billion have been lost due to the floods, storms and wildfires. Americans are also struggling with growing medical expenses due to the extreme weather situations. US President Joe Biden announced the allocation of $6 billion to address climate change. This comes after the alarming findings of the National Climate Assessment. Biden said he wants to make the communities resilient to climate change. One of the key climate goals will be to modernize the electric grid system. The old towers have been reportedly been causing forest fires. Now on to business and tech news. The Eurozone economy slightly contracted in the third quarter. This is according to the official European Union statistics. It said the region's quarterly GDP fell 0.1%. The result have heightened expectations of a technical recession. Last week, the European Central Bank said that the Eurozone would likely slightly contract in the fourth quarter. Japan's economy contracted in the July to September quarter. Gross domestic product in the world's third largest economy contracted 2.1%. This is a much larger decline than a market forecast of a 0.6% fall. The weak readings have been attributed to lackluster consumption and capital expenditure. This has dashed policymakers' hopes for a post-pandemic rebound in domestic activity. Official data showed US consumer prices were unchanged in the month of October. Annual inflation rate dropped to 3.2% from 3.7% in September. This has raised expectations that the US Federal Reserve is probably done raising interest rates. Most economists believe the Fed's monetary policy tightening campaign is over. However, the central bank have repeatedly opposed the views. Policymakers aim to bring the nation's annual inflation rate down to its 2% target. Reports say China plans to provide more than $100 billion to its struggling property market. This is to finance the nation's urban village renovation and affordable housing programs. China's central bank will inject funds in phases through policy banks. This could come as soon as this month. The step marks a major step by the government to balance out the nation's biggest property downturn in decades. Chinese companies are buying US chipmaking equipment to make advanced semiconductors. This is according to data released by the US-China Economic and Security Review Commission. The purchases come despite a raft of new export curbs placed by the US on Beijing. The curbs aim to thwart advances in China's semiconductor industry. The US Food and Drug Administration has sent a warning letter to Amazon. This is over the sale of 7 unapproved eye drops on the company's e-commerce platform. These eye drops were for treating symptoms such as excessive watery discharge, redness, burning, or pink eye. FDA has accused that these eye drops have not been recognized and safe as effective. Healthcare giant Pfizer will cut 500 jobs at its site in the UK. This is a part of its $3.5 billion cost-cutting plan. The US drug maker announced the cost-cutting program in the month of October. That was after Pfizer slashed its full-year revenue forecast due to lower than expected sales. The demand slump had pushed the company to post its first quarterly loss since 2019. Wells Fargo has become the latest financial firm to reduce its headcount. Reports say the financial giant has let go of about 50 bankers. That is from its corporate and investment banking unit. Wells Fargo is cutting a number of managing director positions as part of the layoffs. Top US banks have turned to layoffs amid a deal drought and pressure from high interest rates. Meta, Google and Tik Tok must face claims in hundreds of federal lawsuits. These lawsuits blame the tech companies of addicting millions of children to their platforms. A US judge has rejected the social media companies' efforts to dismiss the suits. The Indian government's cyber security agency has issued a high severity warning for Android users. The Indian Computer Emergency Response Team has flagged multiple vulnerabilities in various Android versions. The vulnerabilities may be exploited by hackers to gain control of devices and steal sensitive information. Moving to sports, let's start with cricket. South African spinner Keshav Maharaj has become the world #1 bowler in ICC ODI rankings. Maharaj replaces Indian pacer Mohammad Siraj, who had claimed the top spot barely a week ago. Since the 1st of November, Maharaj has taken 7 wickets in the 3 matches that he has played at the World Cup. South Africa will play against Australia in the semi-final at the ODI World Cup. The match will be played in the Indian city of Kolkata. Both teams have had strong performances at the tournament. From South Africa, some of the players to look out for are Quinton de Kock, Henrik Klaassen, Tabraiz Shamsi and Kagiso Rabada. In the Aussie squad, David Warner, Glenn Maxwell, Pat Cummins and Adam Zampa are the star players. Meanwhile, the first semi-final is today between India and New Zealand in Mumbai. Former Pakistan cricketer Abdul Razzak is facing a massive backlash. This comes after he made derogatory remarks against popular actor and former Miss World Aishwarya Rai. Some of Razzak's former colleagues have also openly criticized him for his comments. Following the backlash, Razzak issued an apology. In football, midfielder Jude Bellingham has been ruled out of the England squad for Euro 2024. Bellingham is suffering from a shoulder injury and has been ruled unfit to play. Along with him, defender Levi Colwill has also been ruled out from the England team due to a shoulder injury. Former Barcelona and Brazil defender Dani Alves will face trial on charges of sexual assault in Spain. Dani Alves has been charged of sexually assaulting a woman in a nightclub in December last year. If found guilty, he could face a jail time between 4 to 15 years. Alves denies the accusations and says that everything was consensual. Italian club Napoli have sacked head coach Rudi Garcia. They have appointed Walter Mazzarri as the new head coach. The Italian champions say Mazzarri will take over with immediate effect. Mazzarri has returned to Napoli for a second spell after having managed the team between the years 2009 and 2013. Yannick Sinner ended world number 1 Novak Djokovic's winning streak in the group stage at the ATP Finals. Sinner beat Djokovic 7-5, 6-7 and 7-6 after more than a 3-hour battle. With the win, Italy's Sinner has moved to the top of the group, although he is not yet guaranteed a spot in the semi-final. Stefanos Tsitsipas retired after just 3 games of his ATP Finals group match against Holger Rune. Stefanos looked uncomfortable in the first 2 rounds. He eventually decided to retire on medical grounds, giving a walkover to his opponent. This has now become debutant Holger Rune's first win at the ATP Finals. In athletics, India's javelin ace Neeraj Chopra has been shortlisted for the Men's Athlete of the Year award. Chopra made it to the final 5 after having won the World and Asian Games title this year. The Indian will be up against 4 other athletes from track and field for the prestigious award. UK police officials have arrested 1 person on suspicion of manslaughter over the death of ice hockey player Adam Johnson. Officials say the suspect remains in custody. Remember, Adam Johnson was hit in the neck by a skate during an ice hockey match on the 20th of October. The 29-year-old was rushed to the hospital but was declared dead on arrival. Johnson's death sent shockwaves in the sporting community across the world. In entertainment news, actor Dwayne Johnson will be seen as Maui in the upcoming live-action remake of Moana. The actor expressed his excitement on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Unlike the animated film where he lent his voice, he will be seen stepping into the shoes of the character. Maui is a shape-shifting demigod in the story of Moana. Makers of the show Young Sheldon have decided to end the show with Season 7. The 1-hour finale episode will air on the 16th of May 2024. The show is a spin-off prequel to the show Big Bang Theory. It follows the early life of Sheldon Cooper as a child prodigy. 2 months ago, Brand was accused of rape, sexual assault and abusive behavior. Now, 2 new complaints surfaced regarding his workplace conduct at the BBC. The remaining 3 were filed shortly before his public expose. One of the complainants specifically claimed that teenage girls were driven to his home in BBC vehicles. Pop artist Pink has planned to distribute over 2,000 banned books during her upcoming Florida concerts. These books have mostly been written by Black and LGBTQIA+ authors, addressing themes of race and sexual identity. This comes after a law was passed in Florida this year, stating that boards can remove offensive books from libraries. Singer Billie Eilish has always been vocal about what she feels, and now the singer has revealed that she is physically attracted to women. Eilish also said in the interview that she is also intimidated by their beauty and presence sometimes. The bad guy singer poured her heart by saying that she has never felt feminine or desirable. Singer Nick Jonas took to Instagram to open up about his diagnosis of type 1 diabetes 18 years ago. Jonas, along with his mother Denise, said that they detected 4 symptoms. He experienced frequent urination, excessive thirst, exhaustion, and unexplained weight loss. Jonas also highlighted the importance of having a support system. Actor Gwyneth Paltrow says one of the reasons she fell in love with her husband is because he reminds her of her father. In an interview, the Iron Man actor said, like her late father, her husband also has a golden heart and a great sense of humor. Paltrow also choosing her husband. She said that rather choosing her husband is as good as choosing her father. She is married to TV writer and producer Brad Falchuk. Musician RM, the leader of the South Korean boys band BTS, wishes to visit India. During a live session, when a fan asked him where he wanted to go and relax, he said India. He also added that Switzerland and Iceland were part of his list. RM is currently serving in the South Korean military as a part of the country's mandate. South Korean actors Lee Hae-ri and Roo Jun-yeol have parted ways. The actors have reportedly mutually parted ways after dating for 7 years. Their agencies confirmed the news of the breakup. The former couple reportedly started dating after working in the 2015 show Reply 1988. South Korean boy band 17 gave an electrifying performance at the UNESCO Youth Forum in Paris. The band put their best foot forward by performing several hit songs in the one-hour concert. They're also the first Korean group to give a speech at the event. Over 170 youth changemakers, have gathered in Paris to discuss the impact of climate change.